We are discussing about Ethernet and we had a power failure, so that's why we are getting back to this again. So I had a power failure here. So so we are at this point when the power went off. So this is a broadcast network. That is one key thing. So that is this common channel, this coaxial cable is shared by all these computers, all these nodes. So there is another possibility where there is a hub. Hub is also a device which is which doesn't have any intelligence. Basically, it is whatever information it, say for instance, if you have a 4-port hub, it will have 4 ports. Whatever info that comes in from this port will be relayed on to all the remaining 3 ports. It won't check any address as to whether it is intended to node A or B or C, whatever. It will send to all the nodes. So it is also a broadcast type of thing. Compared to that, there is a switch. Switch has intelligence. Switch will check the destination address and forward the frame which it gets only to that particular node which is intended, which that frame is to be delivered. It won't send it to all the nodes. So that is the basic reason why being the technology of those times were at this only at this level of development, that they had to go for this protocol of CSMA-CA, collision avoidance. So CSMA-CD, CSMA-CD. So that is you have unicast transmission, multicast transmission, and broadcast transmission. So depending on this type of transmission, your frame is either all the frames being broadcast over this, transmitted by a node, are broadcast over the network, and everyone receives it. If it is a unicast, only the intended recipient keeps it, rest will discard it. Multicast transmission means you could say only those select group will keep it. Broadcast all the stations except the sender. Now when we take a Wireshark, the tool which we plan to use later on, it has something which is called as promiscuous mode. Promiscuous mode, where you can capture all packets on the network, monitor it. It's actually illegal thing. You won't be able to do strictly like that, but there is a possibility. If we were in the college, we could have made a try. So I never tried it. So don't do it. It's there, you believe. There is something called as a promiscuous mode, where you can run it and capture all the packets through the network. Now to figure out what you are going to detect, that is another thing, but there is something like that still possible with tools. But HTTPS normally you can't find out. So that is all those things being there. Let's go to CSMA-CD. We already seen just a minute. Just a minute. We'll continue. So this we learned about persistent methods. So the first generation Ethernet uses one persistent method where it is sent out, each frame is sent out with a probability 1. That is what. So the process is very simple. You will just observe the energy in the channel. So if the energy goes above a specified level, you would understand that there is a collision. Else the frame has been sent properly. That is what. And there are some things into this, that you will monitor only the 512 bits. The first 512 bits മാത്രമേ നമ്മൾ ഒബ്സർവ് ചെയ്യുള്ളൂ. അത് ഇപ്പോൾ അതിനുള്ള നമ്മളെ ഫ്രെയിം എത്തിയാവുന്നുള്ള കാര്യമാണ് നമ്മൾ ചെക്ക് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. Why such a thing is there, we'll take it up later stage, but for the present we'll try to understand what happens. So if the all the stations will be continually observing the channel and to check whether the medium is free. If it is free, it will begin to send. Now in doing so, it will keep a copy of this frame in the buffer. Now, to what time it has to send this thing? Suppose the network is, say, the length of the network is 2500 meters. So if you have, say, the round trip time, and the collision happens at the end, closer to the endmost node, so you would have to factor in the round trip time. Say node A is sending, say, I'll take this figure itself, the length is 2500 meters, A is sending a frame, it travels, and somewhere here, so the H is also observing it had to send something. It thinks that say we are speaking of electric signals passing through this. Okay, so H also they'll be checking for the energy in the channel every few microseconds. So, and H will know, understand, thinking that there is nothing being transmitted over this, while the A frame has reached somewhere here. H will also send out a frame, and the collision happens somewhere here. So then we need to factor in the time required for this information to reach A. Okay, that is, a collision has occurred. So based on that, it is some simple maths is there. So you will say that you will observe for the first 512 bits. So that is say 512 bytes. So the trailer plus 512 bytes, you will see, check whether there is a collision. That is how you once you get that information, you if it is transmitted properly, it will discard this copy which is stored in the buffer. Now it will transmit and then monitor the station. So if the energy goes above the regular level, collision is there. So no collision has happened, the copy is discarded. This discarding happens after the 512 bits. Okay, so and if collision happens, some other station is sensed, that means someone is transmitting. So the station that senses the collisions will senses the collision first, will send out a jamming signal. So in this case, the station H or G, which senses the collision, will send out a 48-bit jamming signal over this entire network. So so 512 bits in the carrier coaxial cable load up propagation time would calculate and into 2. That will be the that is how you reach an amount of reach a figure of 512 bits. Okay, the propagation time through this particular coaxial cable, it's the media dependent, and and the bit rate is 10 Mbps. Earlier Ethernet is 10 Mbps. That's how you come to this 512 bits, the number of 512 bits. Okay, that's a simple math there. So collision has occurred and all the stations will cease from transmission. Now ceasing this transmission in the sense that they will try to make an attempt after a definite random time. All these stations will make an attempt after a random time. More collisions means then after random time, say station A tries to make a transmission, it again senses a medium, then it will take a it will make a next attempt. So every time this backout time will be incrementally, exponentially increasing, because this is the you have seen all the this figure earlier also. So this value is randomly chosen, 2 power k. So 2 power k, so the k, it's the number of atoms increase means that increases, so that indicates that the channel is busy, so you need to wait longer. So maximum you will make 15 atoms, so you are closer to 15 means your channel is very busy, all the stations are transmitting at a given time. So this is was the approach in CSMA CD, carrier sense multiple access collision detect. So collision is detected in Ethernet, and then all the stations will cease from transmission, and they will back off for an arbitrary time and again make an attempt. So more busy the channel is, again the attempts are made. That is what. So this was a simple logic. Later on we will see that CSMA CA, carrier sense multiple access collision avoidance CSMA CA, that is used in wireless LANs. Say wireless LANs, the problem is that you don't have you have a shared media, but you are not able to sense the energy in the channel. So you have very unique features for wireless networks. So collision avoidance strategies are there in wireless LANs. So so we'll see that later. So Ethernet implementations, so 10^5, 5 is denoting the length. So 185 meters for base 2. Base indicates baseband, that is the signals are transmitted as digital signals and use Manchester encoding. You are learning in the what do you say, information theory paper, Manchester encoding. So it's a digital baseband signal which is encoded using Manchester encoding, and it is sent over this channel. So these are the terminations, the cable ends. So then there is base 2. The distance between terminals is 185 meters. So maximum is 185 meters. 185 meters, that's what. It's a thinner cable. Thinner cable means you could have your what do you say, cable closer to your node. That is what. You could bend it. That is what. Then the twisted pair, Ethernet over twisted pair. Then that was another implementation, 10^T. Then 10^F, fiber based networks were there. There also baseband signaling was there. So compared to that, there is a broadband B, that is broadband analog signaling, and these are the designations. These are the how you classify the cables. The physical layer in IEEE 802.3, that is what specified. Now an evolution of this standard Ethernet was made possible using two things. One is the bridges made it possible, and another one is the switches. So bridge is something device which separates these or it connects two different parts of a network. You can have a bridge across these networks. So what the advantage with the bridge is that it will isolate these two domains. Collisions will be reduced. Whatever, besides you could have an increment over the bandwidth. Suppose you had a 10 Mbps bandwidth for this full network with a bridge. So that means 1, 2, 3, 4. You have 12 nodes there. So 12 nodes are sharing this 10 Mbps. Now with the bridge, what happens is that 10 Mbps will be shared by the 6 nodes plus this bridge here, this side, as well as this here also 6 nodes plus the bridge will share the this connection. So this bandwidth. So each network will be independent, and you can also separate the collision domains. So there will be reduced collisions. So bridge Ethernet was the first evolution of this standard Ethernet. Then you had, so this is the collision domains. So different collision domains are set up by the bridge. So because of that, you will be having lesser collisions, but this also did not solve this problem. And the switch Ethernet was the ultimate solution. Switch Ethernet, you had a hub which earlier in the what is a standard Ethernet, which just send whatever things it got, it sends to all other ports, it forwards to all other ports. That was replaced by a switch. So it's a duplex Ethernet. So full duplex switched Ethernet. So that means that your collision domains, all such things no longer exist. It's a full duplex link. So it's just shared between, the bandwidth is shared between the node and the switch. So and the collision is collision domain is divided into n domains. So these two, 10^5 and 10^2, the earlier ones, they were only half duplex. So full duplex Ethernet replaced the need for CSMA CD. You could turn off this CSMA CD functionality of the MAC layer, MAC sub layer. You no longer needed that. So that is the advantage. So switch Ethernet was the thing. So the difference between these two, the shared Ethernet, the earlier ones, it is via hub. Whatever it gets, it sends to all these things. So that means more collisions. There is a lot more traffic on the network always. So that means any station trying to send something will see that something is happening on the channel. Whereas for a switch Ethernet, switch will do something more extra. It will check the address. Whatever frame it gets, say A sending a frame to C, the switch will check the address and only then send it to C. It won't send to B also. It won't broadcast. Rather, it will have something which is called as a forwarding table, which contains the physical address of these nodes. So that is lesser collisions. The lesser collisions means it will be much more efficient. So that is the thing. So CSMA CD is not required. CSMA CD is not required in the switch based LAN. So this is a figure which illustrates this. Say this two different domains are there. It's a duplex thing, full duplex switched Ethernet. So you had two different collision domains also. Earlier case, there is a possibility of collision. So this is evolution. This was the first what do you say, Ethernet switch. It is why in Indian launched this company, Kalpana. The name itself gives. So it has nothing to do with Kalpana Chawla, the astronaut, but rather it was an so this company is no longer there, but you search out Kalpana EPS 1500. So the present generation things are like the switches, Ethernet switches, unmanaged switches are there. If you visit our network operating center, you could have a look at this unmanaged switches. So they have much higher functionality built into this. It seems Cisco is the worldwide leader in the switch business. So then this is a full duplex switched Ethernet, as we mentioned earlier. By two separate, there is a transmit as a receive. So independently, you can turn off this functionality, carrier sensing and collision detection, as we mentioned earlier, right? Then fast Ethernet is an upgrade over the standard Ethernet. These are the implementations. You have a look. You maintain compatibility with the standard Ethernet. 48-bit addressing, frame format, all those things were same. Gigabit Ethernet is also compatible with standard as well as fast Ethernet. There is a half duplex as well as full duplex mode, but more commonly is full duplex mode is more common. So this has fiber based. For higher things, you have fiber based networks, whereas twisted, unshielded and shielded twisted pairs links are there. But in the next thing, the 10 gigabit Ethernet, the data rate is 10 Gbps, and only allowed media as of now is fiber media, the full duplex thing. So we won't discuss the SONET, all those things. These are to do with the SONET, SDH, all those things are fiber optic standards. Okay, your PON, GPON, EPON, all those things have to do with some sort of variants of this. I mean your fiber optic mode. Ethernet card, those who haven't had a look at their Ethernet card in the PC, this is something which look like it's a PCI slot. It fits into the PCI slot. It supports all sorts of protocols. There is something which is called as auto negotiation. Auto negotiation അതിനെ കുറിച്ചൊന്നും നമ്മൾ പറഞ്ഞില്ല ഈ ഡിസ്കഷനിൽ. You need to check out what is auto negotiation. It's a feature which is available in the fast Ethernet. So all those things are there. So it supports up to 200 Mbps. Oh, I don't know. These are contrary. This is directly from a data sheet. So this UTB cables, yeah, there is a variant of Ethernet which is being used in industrial applications. Say industrial applications, the key thing is it should be rugged, it should be real time. All these collision, all those things cannot have a role there. Frame delays, all those things, real time control. If you are employing it in a factory, it should be sure that you are having a real-time control, near real-time, you will say like that. So Ethernet could be used for PLC, programmable logic devices are there, supervisory control, all those things. So there is another aspect is power over Ethernet. Power over Ethernet means one very good example I could give is what do you say, the monitoring cameras, CCTV cameras. Some of them, they are PoE cameras. PoE cameras don't need an extra power adapter or anything. You could have power over Ethernet adapters, and the power is fed via the Ethernet link itself. So PoE is there. So power over Ethernet adapters are there. So such devices exist. So these are common ones. PoE, we have PoE cameras in our college, couple of them, very few of them. It's costly compared to the other ones. So so that winds up our presentation on what do you say, the discussion on this Ethernet, and we'll continue with one more topic. That is about we'll continue our discussion with the network layer. I'll just share the slide. We'll discuss some points from this network layer before we disperse. So we'll just spend a few minutes. You know some of these points. I thought it will be good enough to start it today. So network addressing. So where are we? We are discussing. We had discussed physical layer. Then we went on to what do you say? We went on to data link layer. We saw all those sliding window, all those things, ARQ, framing. Then we saw Ethernet. How the Ethernet, the physical layer. We saw all these different standards of Ethernet. Then we came on to the what do you say? We also saw data link control, HDLC in data link layer, high level data link layer, all those things. Then Ethernet, we saw different how collision, the medium access control is done. So it is one sub layer function of what do you say, the data link layer. So that is done using your what do you say, medium access sub layer. And we saw CSMA, CD, collision detect. So as of now, we won't be discussing the wireless LANs. We'll revisit the topic later. We'll go to the network layer because we lost one full week. We'll revisit this wireless LAN later. Otherwise, we'll lose time. We need to cover up some topics. Then we'll come back to the wireless LANs. So you can see the slide, alle? You can see the slides. Forgot to ask you that. I see. ആരെങ്കിലും ഓഡിയോ വഴി റെസ്പോണ്ട് ചെയ്യാവോ? ഓ യെസ്, right. So network access, your TCP/IP model strictly, it doesn't speak about what should be the network access layer. It can be Ethernet, it can be wireless link, it could be what do you say, fiber, all those things. But usually Ethernet. That's why we discussed Ethernet. We will come back to wireless LANs later. We are now in this IP, the network layer, you call it as. Then we will go on to the transport layer, where you have transmission control protocol and UDP, ARP, all those things, not ARP. So TCP and UDP are the dominant things there in the transport layer. Then the application layer. So we have quite a lot of things to cover up. So before we move forward, these two people, there's Winston Cerf and Bob Kahn. These two guys are the TCP/IP inventors. This guy is still alive. I don't know about him, but do search. These two are the pioneers. So, and you know the history of internet, all those things. So these are people there. So we'll come back to this figure time and again. So you have Bob and Alice. Yeah, Bob and Alice are two characters in cryptography as well. You'll see later. Bob, Alice, and then there will be Eve, who is trying to attack or what do you say, intrude into the network. Now this is the intermediate routers. Routers operate in all the three lower layers. Now routers will R1, R2, all those things are routers. This will be linking up intermediate nodes. Now intermediate nodes will not open up your full message, rather they will just examine the destination address. It won't decapsulate it fully, it won't pass it over to the higher layers. That is the assumption. Else you need to have a very secure line. That is what. So this is a very encrypted format. You send the thing, it's not going to know as well if someone tries to do that also. So anyway, the network layer has mainly 4 functions. Okay, so that is one is addressing, the other one is packetizing. So remember, the data link layer, the lower layer, physical layer, the data unit is bits, data link layer frame, network layer packets, and the transport layer you have message. That is the terminology as far as the OSI model is concerned. Now it's the same thing. So packetizing, making a packet from whatever you receive from the higher layer, transport layer, you will organize into packet. Now if you you cannot you'll add a destination address as well. So if your message doesn't fit in one packet, you will split up into multiple packets. Routing is a very significant function. Each of these intermediate nodes, R1, R2, all those things are routers. R3, R4, R5, all those things are routers. They will route the packet depending upon the address, looking at the address. So they will have a routing table. They will know that C, for instance, it is sending a packet to, it has to send information which it is receiving a packet on interface 1. It has to send it to C, means it knows it is on. So router will have multiple inputs and multiple output. Each of these ports, multiple ports, each of these ports will have a specific address as well, right? And port address and specific IP as well. So it will just send it on this corresponding. You saw in logical addressing how each of these logical addresses not logical addresses, the physical addresses, we saw that earlier. So each of these are unique addresses are there on each of these interfaces. So it will send out the packet on that particular interface. For this purpose, you will have different protocols doing that. Router does this thing, examining a lot of things, the shortest path, the congestion, all those things, different metrics are there. So it will have something called as a routing table within the router, which will determine how this has to be done. The routing table can be a fixed static routing table, or it can be dynamic. Dynamic in the sense, time and again it will update this routing table based on different consideration, different factors. Okay, right. Then the packet switching, we are coming back again to packet switching. You have two approaches, datagram as well as virtual circuit approach. So your virtual circuit is a connection oriented service, whereas datagram is a connectionless service. Datagram analogy is your postal network, you could say, and virtual circuit your telephone network, PSTN. This is an analogy. It's not it's an analogy to illustrate. We have discussed this earlier. Now this is the key part of this network layer. Network layer as well as internet, it has an addressing feature, IP. So we have IPv4, IPv6, 2 are now coexisting. We'll discuss more about these topics in the next session tomorrow. So we